this is going to be tutorial 5 in my Java Tetris tutorial, and in this tutorial we are going to go over how to save the configuration changes, or the configuration that we set up last time. So first thing, we can remove this print line and key getter because we don't need it anymore. And then let's just run the program. And you can see if we go to options, we have all of these options. And then they're saved while we're in the program. So if I wanted to change left to A, it would save it if I went back to options. But it, however, does not save it whenever we exit the application. So you can see it just changed back to the original. So what we are going to do to fix this is we're going to save everything. So we're going to create two more static methods, public static void load config and public static void save config. And we're actually going to create one more, public static void string get default directory, and this is going to get where to save the config in. So string, this is going to vary based on the operating system that the user is on. So string os equals system dot get property I don't remember here. I have it up over here. Okay. os.name if os.contains win, that means it's Windows, return system.get environment app data. If so, what this is it's where this is the app data folder on Windows. So if you go to %app data %, that's the folder that you're in. And then if os.contains Mac, which means it's a Mac, return system.get property user.home plus library/application support. I think we want a slash here too. Let me just check on that real quick. No, apparently not. And then if os dot, or otherwise we're just going to return system.get property user.home, and let me check that that's actually the right thing. Yep. Okay. You can see in the code that I'm using for this, it does have this, which is for Linux, but it's basically the same thing as that, so there's no reason to do that. Okay, so now we're going to create our config file. So file config equals new file. This is pretty self-explanatory. System.getProperty just gets a property of the system, but sorry if I didn't explain that too well. file get default directory and slash Tetris file config. Okay, slash Tetris slash config. Control Shift O to import file. If not config dot exists, and actually let's change this to config dot text. Config dot create new file, and let's just add throws to this. Exception. This one as well. And I can't remember if I ever explained throws before, but when you add a throws, it basically says any of this type of exception that would happen in the code, they actually happen from this method, so they get thrown back to the program and the program has to handle them somewhere else. And we're going to want to do the same thing up here, except we can just return after we create the new file. Actually, no, we're going to want to save the default config in there. So, never mind, don't do that. Just call save config and then return. Okay. And then the way I like to save stuff in files is using a thing called print writer, which is a really simple way to just write lines in a file. It's like using system.out.println, but it's for a file, and it's pretty easy to understand. So print writer pw equals new print writer config. Control Shift O to import that. And the last thing we're going to have to do is pw.close, because if you don't close it, it won't actually save what you wrote. So just add that line, and then we'll add some stuff in between. So we have rotate left, right, down, and pause to save. Pw dot print line right plus right. Pw dot print line left plus left plus left. There we go. Pw dot print line rotate plus rotate. Pw dot print line down plus down. And pw dot print line pause plus pause. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm going through all of these variables we have up here, and I'm saying pw dot print line, and it's just going to write a line in the file, and then write colon the value, and then we're going to split the string. When we load it, we're going to split the string at the colon to figure out what it should be. So we are done with the save config. Now we need to write the rest of the load. So let's see. Yeah, the easiest way to do this is just going to be a scanner. Scanner s equals new scanner config Control-Shift-O to import scanner. And a scanner can basically just loop through the lines of a file. And we are going to want to make sure that this realizes if improper changes have been made to the config. So we're going to try to avoid that. So while let's just make a map here of everything. Hash map values string equals new hash map string comma string, and these go here. Control-Shift-O, import hash map, and these go here. Okay, and then while s dot has next line values dot string entry equals s dot next line dot split colon. So what this does is it splits the string, the next line in the file, on the colon, and then string key equals entry 0. So this is going to be what tells the program which one of these it is. The first entry, the first part of this array. String value is the second part. And then values dot put key and value. And then there are supposed to be 5 different strings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if values dot size is not equal to 5, throw new runtime except we're just gonna save default config and return. Or save config, sorry. And return. So basically whenever there is a problem, we're just gonna override it with the config. And system.out.println file not found saving defaults, and sysout.println config has been changed, or config is unusable. saving defaults. Okay, so to explain this, I'm just saying what happens if, this is just going to print out to console what happens if something went wrong so that we know what's actually happening in here. And if values.size not equal to 5, save config and return. It's pretty self-explanatory, I think. Okay, and we're gonna put a if, yeah, we'll just do it like this. If not key dot keys dot, no, what was that? Keys, no, values, sorry, values dot contains key left, or not values dot contains key right, or not values dot contains key rotate, or not values dot contains key up, down, or not values dot contains key pause. So if our config file doesn't contain one of the keys that we need, one of these values, rotate, left, right, down, or pause, then we're going to do the same thing as above, system.out.println invalid keys, or invalid names in config, and comma saving defaults, save config, return. And the reason this saves the defaults is because we already default the strings up here to these, so as long as we haven't made any changes to them in the load config, then just running save config will save the default values. So just trying to explain why that would save the defaults. Okay, now we can actually get the values. So string left equals values dot get left, string right equals values dot get right, string rotate equals values dot get rotate, string down equals values dot get down, and string pause equals values dot get pause. And there is one more error check we have to make sure of, and that is we have to make sure that these values actually are in our available set of keys. And to do that, what we're going to have to do is use get key names. So yeah, array, nah, it's not worth it. Okay, so if get key names dot contains left, and we can just copy and paste this whole thing. surround all this and add a knot to the front of it. So basically, if one of our values up here is not in the available values of keys, then we don't want the user to be able to use it. And we want to just save the default config once again. So we're just going to print out invalid key in config saving defaults and add a return. And now that we've checked pretty much every possible error up here, we are going to actually set the values to it. So config.left equals left, config.right equals right, config.rotate equals rotate, config.down equals down, and config.pause equals pause. Okay, now we need to test it out. So, whenever the done button is pressed on here, we are going to want to save config as well. Actually, we'll just add that to the save changes method. Save config, and we're going to have to try and catch that. Try catch exception e dot print stack trace, and then whenever we start the game is when you're going to want to load the config. So Tetris main, let's see, where is this called? We'll just put it right after that. Keygetter.load keys, config.load config, and we'll have to try catch that as well. No, don't add throws to that. Surround with try catch. And we should be good. So let's see if this actually works. We run this, and obviously not. Okay, it's because this folder didn't exist. Config dot okay. File directory equals new file. Get default directory /Tetris. If not directory dot exists, directory dot mkdrs. And now we'll just change this to /config and change this to directory. Okay, so what this does is it actually gets the directory that we're trying to put this in as well, and if that doesn't exist, then we create it along with any files required for it. And let's just copy and paste this into the save as well. And let's try this again. Okay, so it just saved the defaults. And if we go to options, we have all these. let's just change it to WASD. So left is A, right is D, down is S, and rotate is W. No, W. Done. And then if we are to go back, it retained our changes. Then if we close it and reopen it, go to options, our changes are still there. So just to show you what the config file looks like, even though it's working, you see in my app data folder, I don't have a Tetris folder. That's slightly worrying. I don't even know what that is. Okay, I'm gonna print out the path and try to figure out where it's been saving this. System directory dot get path. Okay, let's run this again. See, oh, okay. I see what it did. Let's go down to get default directory. This didn't work. Okay, I understand. So, 2 uppercase, and that will correct the problem. That would have been a problem on pretty much any system. Okay, let's run this again, and that will get rid of our old values because I did change where it's saving this stuff. But let's just set it back. So A, D, S, and W. Close, open it back up, options, ADSW, as we should have set it. And now I will show you what the config file looks like after we remove that print line, because we don't need it anymore because it's working. %appdata, and scroll down. Now we have a Tetris folder, and we have config.txt here, and that's what the configuration looks like. That is the end of this tutorial. In my next tutorial, I plan to actually start on the blocks for the game, or at least setting up the area in which they'll be in. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions about my video, then leave a comment about that, and I'll address it in a reply or another video. And if you like the video, like it, even a favorite. And if you want to see more of this tutorial, subscribe to my channel. Goodbye.